Well, it's that time of the year once again. The end of the year is upon us. Billboard released their annual Billboard Year in Hot 100 list. So, it's time for us to talk about the top 10 best and worst hit songs of 2022. And of course, we're starting off with the worst list. I'll be honest, 2022 wasn't really all that bad of a year for mainstream music. When I was listening through all the eligible songs in the year and listening writing down all the songs that struck me as good and bad for both lists, I ended up finding it a lot easier to write songs that were good than were bad. To be honest, I actually found it a bit difficult to come up with 15 songs that were bad, the 10 picks plus the 5 dishonorable mentions. Of course, I didn't manage to do it, obviously. While I would say that having only 15 songs means I don't have to narrow them down to 15 because, well, there's already 15 of them, it does make it a bit difficult for me to criticize them. A few of the trap songs I hadn't heard before listening through all the eligible songs didn't end up making this list at all. The simple reason for why is simply because I didn't dislike them that much, so I couldn't justify putting them on here. Spoiler alert, hip-hop is still a genre with the most songs on this list, just like my last two lists, but overall, I'd say the hip-hop songs on this list are better than those that were on last year's, with a couple of exceptions at the top. But still, they're on this list for a reason. And speaking of which, I think it's time I talked about these songs. First off, a couple of reminders as always. In order to be eligible for either my year-end hit songs list, it must have debuted on this year's Billboard Year-End Hot 100 list. Therefore, the 15 songs that made last year's list are disqualified. So while I'm not at all happy that Heat Waves by Glass Animals was an even bigger hit this year than it was last year, and was the #1 biggest song of the year, I already ranted about it last year. Speaking of which, I will be referencing songs I put in my year-end hit songs list of the 2 previous years. Go watch those videos first if you haven't already to avoid any more spoilers for them. Also yes, both of the Christmas songs that debuted on this year's list are eligible for both lists, but they won't be next year if they make the 2023 year-end list, which they probably will. You know, Billboard really should put some sort of rule barring Christmas songs from charting on the Hot 100 in place, so they're not clocking up the Hot 100 every December. This only started being a thing in recent years. But I digress. And of course, this list is just my opinion. Don't get mad at me in the comments because I put a song you like on here. Let me know what your worst hit songs of 2022 were. Okay, without further ado, let's kick this list off with my number 10 pick.
Gotta throw a party for my day ones. They ain't in the studio, but they'll lay some.
I said earlier that hip-hop was the most represented genre on this list, just like my 2 previous worst hit songs lists, and what better way to start this list off than with a hip-hop song? You know, there really isn't a whole lot I can say about this song. This was pretty close to missing this list altogether, just being a dishonorable mention. I'll be honest, I actually kind of like the melody behind Drake's rapping. That saxophone, I think it's a saxophone, actually doesn't sound bad and does keep the song from sounding too generic or boring, even if it is overlaid with a generic trap beat and Drake not being able to rap about anything consistently. Seriously, I can't even figure out what the song is about even after reading the lyrics to it. Also, side note, I don't know why the song is even called Jimmy Cooks. There's no lyrics in the song with Jimmy Cooks. I guess he just wanted to reference the character he played on Degrassi's Next Generation without having any real reason why. However, about halfway through the song, we get a beat switch and then 21 Savage pops in for his verse, where he also gets a generic rap lyrics about expensive cars, getting his D sucked, and a reference to Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars, which already makes the song sound dated, even though that happened this year. It reminds me of another Drake song, Life is Good by Future from 2 years ago, where it basically just feels like 2 different songs stitched together, especially since 21 Savage doesn't come in until that beat switch, and with the exception of right after the beat switch and at the very end of the song, Drake isn't on the second half of the song. At least it's integrated better than the 2 halves of Life is Good, where Drake and Future were completely segregated on their respective halves, but it still makes me wonder why they didn't break the song up in 2 separate songs. Not the most interesting song to start this list off, I know, but again, this really wasn't that bad of a year for mainstream music, except for the songs at the top of the list. But let's move on. This year, Puerto Rican singer/rapper Bad Bunny had 7 songs from his 2022 album Un Verano Sin Ti, and I apologize if I butchered that pronunciation, charted on the year-end Hot 100 list this year, tying for the artist with the most hits on this year's list. And you know, when artists you don't like manage to get that many songs on the list, it's inevitable that there'll be at least a couple of them on the list. Now, I'll admit some bias here. I don't speak Spanish. It's hard for me to fully appreciate a song when I can't understand its lyrics without looking up a translation. And to be honest, outside of a couple songs, I've never really been into the second Latin music craze that began in 2017 with Despacito and Mi Gente. Maybe if I was a Spanish speaker or was from a Spanish-speaking country or community, maybe I'd actually like some of these songs more because I understand the lyrics immediately and possibly understand the culture and context in which the song can be better appreciated. Of course, the song not being in English doesn't automatically make the song bad. I like some songs that are in other languages, so I did want to be open-minded when it came to the Bad Bunny songs on the year-end list. Unfortunately, pretty much all these songs range from okay to bad. Case in point, Party. Now, this wasn't Bad Bunny's worst hit song this year, I'll talk about that later, but it's still a dull, uninteresting reggaeton song that outside the guitar line in the opening, has nothing interesting about it. Not to mention the chorus sides follow that annoying trend of just repeating one word or phrase over and over. Seriously, can we stop doing that? It's lazy. Also, when you translate the lyrics to English, there's some pretty cringeworthy lyrics here. The song is basically about a girl Bad Bunny likes who likes to party. Okay, fine enough, but why do you have to say that there are so many seats yet you still want to sit on top of my D word or I made your P word sentimental? How is it supposed to be flattering? Oh yeah, and there's also another guy featured on the song whose first name I'm not even going to try to pronounce, and I question why the song even needed a feature artist in the first place. Bad Bunny could have done this all on his own? Overall, it's just a dull, uninteresting reggaeton song with some pretty cringeworthy lyrics. I'll talk more about Bad Bunny later, but in the meantime, here's an even more uninteresting song.
Pull up between
You know, it seems like a couple times every year, some song by some no-name rapper blows up on SoundCloud or TikTok and becomes a big hit. Well, To the Moon is no exception, being a song by rapper J.R. Choi, whom pretty much nobody ever heard before this song came out, sampling Sam Tompkins' cover of Bruno Mars' Talking to the Moon, which is why he's also credited as an artist on this song. I'll say this, for a song titled To the Moon, it does sound like a song that comes from outer space, with its quiet sound, drill beat, and vocal effects. Sam Tompkins' voice sounds like it's constantly getting louder and quiet. It's a weird effect to put on the vocals. I guess it's supposed to make it sound more distant and lonelier, but it just makes the song sound way too processed and inhuman. Speaking of which, then we have J.R. Choi with some sort of vocal effect on his voice, sounds like he's talking to a fan. If they were trying to make him sound like an alien or a robot, they definitely succeeded. I guess I can see why some people might find the song to be chilled or laid back, but to me, it just makes the song sound dull and boring. You want an example of a good chilled back hip-hop song? Wait till I get to the best list. A hookup song shouldn't sound this lifeless or like it was made by a robot, even in a hip-hop song. I don't know what girl would be turned on by this song, especially when J.R. Choi says that he might give her the wood. TMI, dude. And then, of course, in the second verse, he delves into the cliche rap lyrics about spending racks and telling the girl to make it clap, because even if the song's only 2.5 minutes long, it just had to check off the boring hip-hop song checklist. Also, going back to the song sounding distant and lonely, is that the kind of sound you want a hookup song to have? Even many of the other hip-hop songs made by previous worst hit songs lists, while they were still bad, let's have more energy than this dull piece of nothingness. If you're gonna make a hip-hop song about hooking up with a girl, let's make it sound interesting. If this was the top 10 most boring hit songs of 2022, this would definitely be number 1. It doesn't really infuriate me though, hence why it's relatively low on the list. It's more boring than actively frustrating. I'm definitely not over the moon for it though.
Dog, player, I get it. Fraud, player, I get it.
And here's the other artists who had 7 songs on the 2022 year-end Hot 100 list. Of course, 3 of them weren't eligible for this list since they made last year's list. One of them actually made my best list last year. This also makes Doja Cat's 3rd appearance in a row on my top 10 worst hit songs list. I'll say what I said on last year's best list. Doja Cat's best song is when she leans more into her melodic poppy side and has more singing than rapping, or equal parts singing and rapping. Songs like Say So or Kiss Me More featuring SZA really fall that well. Heck, I'd even say You Ride With The Weeknd, Need to Know, and Woman do a decent job of that, even if I wasn't a huge fan of those songs. Unfortunately, Vegas does not follow that. While not the absolute worst thing I've heard from her, Vegas just doesn't play to Doja Cat's strengths. The song just really isn't inviting or pleasing to the listener, leading into the minor key and horns, and the lyrics about her being unimpressed with a guy. I guess she's trying to go for the vibe of the fed-up sex worker in Sin City who's taken advantage of by a guy, which would fit the song's title, and to its credit, the song does pull off that tone fairly well. Also, I actually do like the sample of Hound Dog taken from the cover of the song from the film Elvis, of which the song is on the soundtrack for. That's pretty clever, even if it is just a way to market the movie. I know this might sound weird to say, but this is a song that I can appreciate and see how the elements of the song work together, but it's just not a song that I enjoy listening to. I see how everything comes together on this song, works together, but the result's just not something I enjoy. I guess it's like how a chef can work really hard on a meal and have all the ingredients come together, but a customer just doesn't like the taste. Vegas is definitely the most competent song on this list, but competent doesn't mean good. And in my opinion, even a song that doesn't have that many things wrong with it and does a lot right can still be bad if you just don't like listening to it. That's where I am with this song. Of course, there was another Doja Cat hit song this year that has nothing right about it at all, but I'll talk about that later.
Tití me preguntó si tengo muchas novias.
Well, here it is, the second Bad Bunny song on this list, and one that I dare say is even more cringeworthy than the last one. Now, I'll admit, I'd say the song probably has more good elements to it than the previous Bad Bunny song. For starters, I do sort of like the opening guitar line, and the song kind of shifts in the second half in both the sound and lyrical content in a way that does redeem it a little bit. But the bad elements still outweigh the good elements. Bad Bunny's voice at quite a few points in the first half sounds boring, almost like he's yawning. For a song about hooking up with a bunch of girls, he sure doesn't sound excited about it. Why is having such enthused vocals on a song such a hard thing to accomplish? Oh, and speaking of which, we have the lyrics, where Bad Bunny's rattling on about how he has a new girlfriend every day, and bragging about how he's gonna take them all to the VIP, and listing each of their names and where they're all from, including the one from Barcelona who says that his D word is fire. Again, how is that supposed to be flattering? These lyrics just come off as douchey. Look, we get it, you have a lot of girlfriends, but it doesn't make you cool or anything, especially when there's the implication that you're hooking up with a new one every day, going through them like a roulette. Then of course we have that annoying repetitive part where he keeps going do, 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 over and over. All that being said though, in the second half of the song, the tone changes and Bad Bunny has a bit of self-awareness. Following advice from his aunt, he says that girls shouldn't fall in love with him because he's gonna break their heart and it's just how he is, he doesn't want to be like that anymore. I'll admit, that part of the song does redeem it a little bit, and if it wasn't for that, the song would definitely be higher on the list. Of course, I'm not holding my breath that Bad Bunny is going to change his ways, but admitting that you have a problem is the first step to fixing it. But the song isn't completely redeemed due to all the things I said before. It definitely could have been worse, but it's still not very good. Wow, I'm surprised this song even made the year-end list. Sure, the song was number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, but it was released pretty late into the year. Typically, songs that are released after August don't make that year's year-end list and end up making next year's year-end list instead. But with how huge the song was when it came out, I guess it just managed to scrape by and be eligible for this year's list. It's gonna have a much higher spot on next year's year-end list though. I'll also say it is quite an accomplishment that it is the first song by an openly trans and openly non-binary person to be number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. However, that doesn't automatically make the song good, and in fact, it's just the opposite. This is Sam Smith's worst single ever. The biggest problem with it is that it just doesn't fit Sam Smith at all. Their soulful voice really fits well on songs like Stay With Me, I'm Not the Only One, Like I Can, Lay Me Down, Two Good Goodbyes, Dancing with a Stranger with Normani, Diamonds, and more. Heck, even Love Me More, Sam Smith's other single this year, fits Sam Smith's style singing better. Seriously, that couldn't have been their biggest hit this year? This song, rather than trying to sound soulful and reserved, is trying to sound super bombastic with the huge gospel swells and the percussive heavy production, and lyrics about a man cheating on his wife with a prostitute. It doesn't flatter Sam Smith at all. It's not the kind of song suits him the least. Not to mention, they have no chemistry with Kim Petras, and I question why the song wasn't a solo Kim Petras song. Sam Smith doesn't belong here at all. Speaking of the production, it's overly cluttered with the various clanking percussive sounds and electronic sounds which take priority over the melody. It just sounds like a mess. I'll give it this, unlike a couple of previous songs, it actually does try to have the music fit the lyrics by having it sound more haunting thanks to the minor key and gospel vocals of the intro, but the song's elements still clash together, making it a complete 10-car pileup. Again, it is quite an accomplishment that it is the first song by an openly trans and openly non-binary person to be number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. I just wish that accomplishment had gone to a better song. Not sure if I'd say the song is unholy, but it's still pretty bad.
Oh, the misery. Everybody wants to be my enemy.
Speaking of overly bombastic songs that don't fit the artist at all, tell me, did you want Imagine Dragons to make a sour rap rock song that's trying to sound super energetic and yet just sounds unflattering? Well, here's a song for you. I don't even know where to begin with this one. Nothing about the song works. For a self-empowerment song about being shunned and not trusting anyone, the song has no real crescendo or build to it. It just doesn't hit the way it should. The chorus is supposed to be the big punch, but it just falls flat for a few reasons. For one thing, it seems that Imagine Dragons haven't learned anything from Thunder from 5 years ago, and decided to have another song with pitch-shifted vocals on them, which of course sound bad. The only difference is that this time, it's low-pitched vocals instead of high-pitch shifted. Speaking of sounding bad, let's not forget about Dan Reynolds dipping into his cringe-worthy falsetto on the verses, or that annoying voice shouting, "Look out for yourself!" on the intro and chorus. Yeah, we get it. It's a song about fighting yourself in a world where everyone is your enemy. The song didn't need a catchphrase to it. At least the "you ain't nothing but a" part on Vegas didn't sound obnoxious. The song just doesn't give me the feeling of empowerment like it should. I know Imagine Dragons are capable of that. They made Radioactive after all. Heck, even Believer was a decent enough empowerment song. This song doesn't make me feel like anything but skipping into my playlist. Then we have JID with his rap verse, where he can't even fit all of his words into his lines. He sounds offbeat as he tries to cram more words into each line supposed to fit. Especially at the end of his rap verse where the music stops so we can get all of his words out to try to disguise the fact that he's shoving in way more words than he should. And it's not a very good disguise because it's obvious why the music stops there. You know, JID, there's something called rewriting. If all your words don't fit into your line structure, instead of trying to force them to fit, why not trim down your lines so that they fit within the structure? Even the other rappers on this list, including the ones higher than this song, were able to do that. Also, one more thing. This is a theme song for the Netflix series Arcane League of Legends. This is a song people are going to hear before every episode. This. Seriously, it couldn't have worked to make the song sound a little more competent, especially with Netflix, a huge company, paying you to make this for their show. No wonder everybody wants to be your enemy. This song sucks. It's definitely my enemy.
En la calle ando suelto, pero por ti me quito. Si tú me lo pides, yo me porto bonito.
Oh, you thought I was done talking about Bad Bunny? Nope. Believe it or not, Tití Preguntó wasn't the worst Bad Bunny hit song this year. That would be Me Porto Bonito, which, wouldn't you know, was also his biggest hit this year. It's basically a mediocre hookup jam that doesn't sound enticing at all. The production is boring with a dull guitar line, sterile reggaeton beat, and neither of the two men here come off as ladies' men at all. Especially when you translate the lyrics and see that Bad Bunny's talking about how this girl likes threesomes when she's high, or how both he and the girl becoming horny is what unites them. bet Bad Bunny's having a threesome with this girl and one of his many girlfriends mentioned Tití me preguntó. Then we have the feature artist, again, whose name I'm not even gonna try to pronounce, with his nasal singing, which reminds me of Ozuna, another nasally voiced reggaeton singer who thankfully didn't have any hit songs in the USA this year. Annoyingly, nasal vocals are already instant turnoff for me, but then we get to him singing about how he has to upload a selfie with a girl so other girls can see how hot she is and have to try harder, and how this girl should upload her ass online more often, and how he never forgets her horny moments. Okay, I'm not sure if in Spanish it's socially acceptable to use horny like that, but in English, saying that you and another girl are horny just sounds awkward. Maybe sexy is what they meant to say and it was a mistranslation, or maybe this is some concept in the Spanish language that doesn't quite map to English. I know those definitely occur. Also, does anyone else find it weird that this song is about two guys singing about the same girl? I don't know, I feel like a hookup song or a love song should have only one singer, unless the girl's high and they are doing a threesome, but nope, I'm not going there. I guess unnecessary features aren't just a thing in English mainstream music, they happen in Spanish too. If I could say anything good about this song, the breakdown at the beginning of the second verse does actually make it sound mildly interesting, even if for a short time. I'm glad it wasn't a totally dull production the whole way through. Also, at least there's no spoken outro that drags out at the end of the song like there was in the first Bad Bunny song on this list. I don't really think the lack of something counts as much of a positive though. This is not a good song either. Skip it.
And I said I just gotta ball, get it to ya. Pop out with a truck, get it to ya.
Okay, so now we get into the songs I would consider to be truly awful. And it seems that Doja Cat still decided that she needed to make more music that doesn't suit her strengths. And unlike Vegas, I can't even say this song is competent. First of all, the song isn't fun to listen to, especially with that haunting whistling sound which doesn't suit the song at all. This isn't a Halloween song, why is this not even here? And then of course, there's the lyrics about having a big butt, which I guess Doja Cat still done making big butt songs. I thought that was behind 2014. Speaking of which, the song is a tribute song to Nicki Minaj. I mean, Doja Cat's pop rap sound definitely is inspired by Nicki Minaj, so I guess making a tribute song to her makes sense, but again, the unfun sound of it doesn't make it feel like a good tribute. You couldn't have based a song off Nicki's more popular songs like Super Bass or Starships. Hell, Anaconda's better than this song. You can also tell that Doja Cat is trying to emulate Nicki Minaj's rapping in the song, as well as with her changing her style of voice and the rapid style flow that Nicki Minaj is known for. You know what would have made the song be better? She could have tried emulating Nicki Minaj's Roman voice. I mean, maybe that would have been considered copying her, but given that emulating her is exactly what she's doing here, why not? It would have been better to try to sing in a really choked up voice in the pre-chorus. They say, I just gotta get into it, yeah. Papa with the truck, get into it, yeah. It sounds like she's trying to hold herself back from crying. Also, since it's Nicki Minaj rapping in a choked up voice like that, you're really restraining yourself from singing or rapping well when you use that voice, and given how she does project herself in the chorus, she's actively choosing to rap in that voice. Hey, at least she doesn't sound bored on this song like so many rappers and singers I put on my worst hit songs list, but I'm not really sure this is much better. This song is a headache and a half. But somehow, it's still not number one. Before I get to that though, let me knock out a handful of honorable, or in this case, dishonorable mentions.
I'm just trying to ball and live. 100 mil, I'm calling deals. I'm the boss, pay all the bills. I'm the golden child for real.
I didn't really know what else to expect from this song other than it being another listless hip-hop song with a generic trap beat, a sample from another song, and Lil Baby rapping about being a gangster and how rich he is and all the stuff he bought. It sounds like dozens of other trap songs, it doesn't stand out in any way. If you gave this song to, say, Young Thug or Young Boy Never Broke Again, the song wouldn't really be any different. Heck, it doesn't even stand out against Lil Baby's discography. He's made plenty of songs that sound exactly like this one. Honestly though, its unoriginality is why it's just missing this list. It's so generic that I really can't get frustrated or bored at it. Make no mistake though, this still isn't a good song, and I consider it to be number 11 on this list. You just missed by a sliver, Lil Baby. Let's see if you make something that's actively frustrating or boring enough to be worthy of this list next year.
He wanna F-R-E-A-K-F-R-E-A-K.
Doesn't it seem weird that it took till this long in Nicki Minaj's career to get a solo number one? You'd think she would have gotten one by now, but nope, this was her first by herself. Now, this is far from the worst song Nicki Minaj has ever released. If this song had been a hit either last year or the year before, it wouldn't even be the top 20 worst hit songs of either of those years. But in a year where I really didn't have many awful songs to work with, this is what you got. The sample of Rick James' Super Freak doesn't really feel that original, given there's another very popular rap song that samples that exact same song. Not to mention that there is the occasional cringeworthy lyric like, a thong bikini up my ass, I think I'll go for a dive, or wetter than umbrellas and stickier than apple pies. Why do rap songs about sex often have gross lyrics like that? I wonder all the people who viscerally hate Anaconda for being overly raunchy think of this song. I definitely wouldn't say I like this song, but I don't actively dislike it too much. Certainly not enough to justify putting on this list.
Push a P, I'm push a P. Push a P, I'm push a P. Yeah.
I actually thought the song was gonna be on the list proper, but honestly, I just didn't really hate the song that much. Like with Jimmy Cooks, I actually don't totally mind the production. That twinkling sound on the trap beat, I'm not sure what it is, but it kind of sounds nice. It kind of gives the song a sort of a shiny sound to it, if that makes any sense. This song could have been a song about doing crystal meth to really fit with the shiny twinkling sound, but no, it's a song about push and pee. Of course, it's still a song about doing drugs, but hey, at least it tries to sound somewhat nice. I also really do like the frequent use of alliterations on this song with the letter P. It shows that the rappers on the song do have some skill with writing lyrics, even despite Young Thug's line saying that he effed a cup of water. How do you have sex with a cup of water? I also question why this song has 3 rappers. Gunna, Future, and Young Thug are all pretty interchangeable, and really, this song wouldn't have been any different if just one of them rapping. It only feels like all 3 of them are on here to get more listens on the song. I still wouldn't call this song good, but at least it's not terrible.
Dime pa' dónde vamos después de la playa. Si no secamos, yo traigo la toalla.
Did I mention I'm not a fan of Bad Bunny? Because I'm not a fan of Bad Bunny. And look, this is just what happens when an artist you don't like gets numerous songs on the year-end list. At least a couple of them are bound to be among my least favorites on the list, and I wanted this to be completely to my opinion. I mean, I can't arbitrarily exclude a song just because this artist already made the list at least once already. Let me say for the record that if a death/screamo metal band scored 7 songs on the year-end list, they'd probably make it the entire top 7 on my list. Oh, by the way, you wanna know my thoughts on Después de la Playa? The synths at the beginning of the song are unpleasant to listen to, but the mambo sound right after the first time the chorus of the song sounds much better. But the spoken parts right before the sound changes as well as on the outro drag the song out. Also, on the beat is where Bad Bunny wants to F this girl and God has already forgiven him, but this girl hasn't. I forgive this more than the 3 Bad Bunny songs that actually made the list, but it's still not for me.
Under the surface, I feel berserk as a tightrope walker in a 3-ring circus.
Why is it that the worst song from Encanto ended up being the second most popular song for the movie? Seriously, couldn't have been Waiting on a Miracle or What Else Can I Do? And okay, look, in a worst year, this wouldn't even be in the top 20 worst songs of the year. I was kind of stretching for songs to put on this list since there weren't really a lot of awful songs this year. I don't like the minor key or synths here, and while Jessica Darrow definitely can pull off the tough woman voice like she did when she played Louisa in the movie, she's not the best singer. Hey, at least Lin-Manuel Miranda's songwriting pulls together some clever rhymes, and the song metaphorically uses the term surface pressure to refer both to the pressure of the heavy objects Louisa can carry with her superhuman strength, and the pressure she feels from Alma's high expectations from her family. That being said, the song really only works within the movie, and when taken out of that context, it's a lot less significant. It's definitely one of the weakest Disney songs I've ever heard. Well, that's 5 songs that were mediocre at worst. Let's finish off by talking about a truly awful song. Here it is, the #1 worst hit song of 2022.
We could have been superstars. Remember when we were jacking cars?
Forgive me if I sound judgmental by saying this, but I knew the song would be on the list before I even heard it, possibly even #1. I mean, it's a Kodak Black song, and knowing what I know about his music before this, I had a feeling I would hate this song. And yup, that was appropriate because this song is awful, and I don't think that opinion would have changed even if I had more of an open mind. Though unlike the previous 2 years, I wasn't 100% sure if it would be #1. Getting to it, yeah, it was pretty close behind after all. But after some thinking, I decided that yes, this song is worse and deserves to top my list. So, what does the song have to offer? Generic trap beat? Check. Twinkly piano keys that don't make the song sound interesting or fun to listen to? Check. Lyrics about cars and shooting? Check. All of that alone would make the song worthy of this list. But then there's a few extra things about that really rep up the awfulness. First up, we got those ear-grating high-pitched vocals singing on the intro. Yeah, what a great way to start off your song! And you also hear them interspersed with the song, so it never ends. Speaking of singing, did you want to hear Kodak Black singing? No? Well, too bad, because he tries to sing on this song. Keyword, tries. Kodak Black cannot sing at all. He sounds like he's falling asleep when he sings. Seriously, what is it with singers on my worst hit songs who sound like they're half asleep when they're singing? Oh, unless I get some even more cringeworthy lines like, caught him pants down, N-word, you S-worded. Blah! Thanks for putting that image in my mind, Kodak Black. Is that really like you want it on your song you expect people to listen to and enjoy? Oh, that's not the only lyric on here that brings to mind images of feces, as we also have him saying, I be on an F-word, N-word ass like Charmin. Again, thanks for that disgusting image, Kodak Black. And somehow the disgusting lyrics don't end there, as we also have him saying, creeping in houses like roaches. And to top it all off, we have him using the R word. Sorry, but as someone with Asperger's syndrome, hearing the R word used in a non-medical context really annoys me. It's not like I expect Kodak Black to handle the use of that word respectively. All in all, this song is a skin-crawling turd that I never want to hear again, and easily deserves to be the #1 worst hit song of 2022. Comparing it to the 2 worst hit songs of the 2 previous years, it's definitely worse than Justin Bieber's Yummy. Not sure if it's worse than Way Too Sexy, and quite honestly, I don't ever want to listen to either song again, so I'm not even going to try to ask which is worse, because it doesn't matter. Screw both of them. Whew, I'm certainly glad that's over with. Even in a year where I struggled to pick out 15 songs to talk about, there were still some awful songs at the top. Glad this list is behind me now. But we're not done quite yet because I got the best hit songs of 2022 video coming up very soon. Stay tuned for that, and I'll see you then.